So I have zero experience so far, so other than this internship. So initially I was definitely scared, wondering they might want something more than I could offer. But the fact is they're only looking for confidence in what you already have and your undying will to learn. I'm from Chennai and I have a commerce background. I did my BCom Accounting and Finance in Chennai. I was always fascinated with the subject of sales and marketing. So all throughout my academic journey so far, I knew I wanted to do something related to that in the future.
I'm from an engineering background and I'm from Chennai. I did my engineering in Coimbatore. I had a natural inclination towards management and I didn't know that until my second year when I started taking up responsibilities in my college.
It felt a lot of times when you're being educated, you don't really get the practical application of the same. But here it felt like the exact real-time application in the business world and exactly what has to be done about it was being explained. And I think it was a very, very smooth transition, at least for me. Except for a few subjects here and there where I found great professors here to help me out. So overall it was a very smooth process, yes. The kind of pure learning here is amazing. So the different things that you get to learn from each person is going to be so much more than what you would have got through an individual or a home-based learning. Because each person have their own stories and the way they've been brought up, the place they come from is completely different. So there's a lot to learn from.
If you ask me generally, there are two options. One is that it's a very good scope to, diversify yourself.
To answer that question, for every marketing student, FMCG is the dream come true. So they would definitely, because consumer goods kind of touch every single person and every point of life in a day. So FMCG was something that fascinated me as well. And Nestle was a brand that I grew up with. So I have a lot of good moments attached to the same. So of the companies that came, I got into the second company that came because the first was a finance company and I knew that I wanted to do marketing. And the first company which is in marketing was Nestle, and with zero hesitation I applied for it.
I'm a marketing major to start off with, and FMCG is one of the sector which is like a sweet spot for every marketing major, and definitely that was my first choice. We did have few FMCG companies coming before ITC, that's where I did my internship. So I did apply to them, but always there was this this attraction towards ITC, especially because of the history it has, which is a very long one.
There were 4 rounds for the interview process. The first one was the CV shortlisting, obviously, and the next one was the GD round, and then there was a technical interview and there was an HR interview. All of these were challenging, but they were also making me want to be more competitive and eager to learn more and be able to perform better. After I got the PPI, there was another round where we had to go to the field. There was a field trip where I actually got to see every single thing that I had learned as concepts actually being practically applied from my SDM course, Sales Distribution Management course. So every single thing I saw it happening live, and that was a great learning experience. And we had our area ASM there, who was conducting the interview right in the middle of the field trip, and she was asking me to explain all of the things that I understood. And I think from there she was able to gauge what are all the learnings and how am I going to apply them if I were given a chance to be a part of that organization. So I have zero experience so far, so other than this internship. So initially I was definitely scared, wondering they might want something more than I could offer. But the fact is they're only looking for confidence in what you already have and your undying will to learn. To speak of my internship experience, it was completely centered around the fact that there was no time. So kind of like story of my life. So it was completely centered on the fact that the projects were taking too much time because they required that every single, quite some members of the organization to collaborate. So when something, some part, there's a shortcoming in one part, everything else slow down, the whole process slows down. So when that is the case, in fact the first project took over half the time the second project was to be handled. So that was extremely difficult. And another thing was this entire COVID-19. So in essentially a sales internship, there is a requirement of market visit and learning from your seniors and being on field and kind of understanding things. So that was completely missed out on, and every single conversation, all the calls, all the contact and all of the sharing of files, everything had to happen online, and that was also another challenge.
My project dealt with the app developed by ITC for the retailers. So my entire work was communicating with the retailers about the app and making them know about the app. And since it was work from home, I had to call them. I had to introduce myself to them. They were not used to my voice or my face, nothing. So I had to create a rapport with them at the first phone call, which I didn't know. I was given a brief of what this was about, what is the project about, what am I supposed to do. Everything was given in detail. So all I had to do was create this rapport and speak about this app and, make them accept the app and start using it. Well, it was 3 sentences I said, right? Well, it wasn't as easy as I expected it to be, and that is something that I signed up for, right? When I told that I want to see how it is in the hot seat. Lucky for me, all my mentors and the buddies assigned to me from the company were super supportive, because of which I had a seamless process both the months, 2 months. Like whenever I had these hiccups in strategizing some plans, or whenever I did need real-time experience advice, I turned to many of my faculty members.
The way I learned and made my way throughout this entire internship journey was from a lot of questions and a lot of need for guidance. So that I was very grateful that people were there to constantly handhold me and kind of explain what is exactly that has to be done. Even from the college's end, that was in fact one of the most helpful factors out here, because each professor you literally had to just reach out, and then the help was already waiting. Final presentation essentially had a display of all of the findings that I had so far in the form of number crunching and data processing and visual display of the same in a manner that was very clearly articulated and presented. So it was the final interview was completely made of the top management who were actually asking me questions. So that was in fact the first time where I had got actual appreciation, and that was a great memorable moment in my life. They seemed to be appreciating the fact that I was able to pull this through in a time full of adversities. So the fact that we had very less time, and the fact that it was very difficult to go outside and actually getting the details from the people who are easy to communicate with in person than in online medium. So all of this, to be able to do that with the other challenges in hand within the time that is required and in an effective manner, was something that I think they appreciated.
So the ultimate goal for any student starting an internship is going to be a BPO. So that was my goal, yes. But as soon as I set foot with my project, the journey started to become more important to me. I started loving the process. I started liking how I was working with the team, how I was working with the end users especially, and that started taking priority over the need to get the PPO. Definitely that was at the back of my mind. So all I could think of was, what is the best solution that I can bring in? What is the best strategy that I can devise for this? So when I pitched my final suggestion in the PPT, I could see that the managers and the panel members who were listening to my PPT were okay with that, and they did give me my inputs. They gave me the real scenario, what would happen if my suggestion went into place, and they listened with so much patience, and they told, yeah, you did a very good job.
So one thing I've learned from this institute is you have to be constantly upskilling and learning things that are very current and required in the market. So I would definitely advise that you keep understanding, analytics is a very happening field. So whatever is the field that is happening, right, that is completely relevant to your industry, is something that you should be on the lookout for and constantly having to learn from it.
Never ever second guess yourself in your answers, in your strategies. It's always going to be the best, and it's always going to be valued.